Hey guys, this is Andre from Wealthy Neighbor. Hope you're all doing well. In this video, we will resume the discussion about the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And we'll talk about laying the groundwork for applying Napoleon Hill's philosophy for achievement. We'll talk about some topics that we should address before we start wanting to be successful or before we start expecting great riches in our lives. Please take a minute to read the disclaimer, and if you agree with all the terms and conditions, let's move on. So this video is about laying the groundwork to start applying Napoleon Hill's philosophy to success. So we'll talk about the importance of knowing yourself, how worry and fear affect our success and our mindsets, the susceptibility to negative influences, which Napoleon Hill considers the seventh great fear that affects all humanity. We'll talk about excuses and alibis and how people use these to give up and not to try hard enough. And we'll end the video with what Napoleon Hill considers the greatest regret of them all. Guys, self-knowledge, super important. It has to do with knowing the effects of the positive and negative influences on our subconscious. Napoleon Hill says that there is a stream in life that carries people either toward wealth or poverty. There is no compromise or middle ground. You either go into one side or to the other side. And positive emotions will bring you closer to wealth, whereas negative emotions will bring you closer to poverty. Most of people go through life swinging from one side to another and barely leaving their initial place. So many people were doing pretty well before of the Great Depression, and then came the market crash or whatever event that made people lose a lot of money, and then they started being negative, and then they started to lose a lot of money and being worried about the fear of poverty and not being able to pay their bills. But after a while, they started to think positive again. They started to see hope. They backed up this hope with faith, and they started to desire what they wanted and started to think about plans on how to get this physical manifestation of their desires. And they started to persevere and be persistent, be motivated, and finally all this positive thinking pays out by taking them to a better place. But then another negative event comes and brings back the negative influences, and this cycle goes on and on. So the more you know yourself, the better you can prevent this kind of situation. Take inventory of yourself, know your strengths and know your weaknesses. Measure yourself honestly and accurately regarding to your level of persistence. Investigate through a courageous analysis whatever you were affected by any of the 6 basic fears. Look for the symptoms we discussed earlier, and if you identify any of them, be courageous to admit you are being afflicted by one of these fears and try to change your condition and try to improve yourself. And every time you do a self-analysis, be truthful, guys. Hold yourself accountable for all the answers and deal with your faults. There is no point in masking them. There is no point in coming up with excuses for yourself. This is bad and you are hurting yourself. You're not hurting anyone else. Worry is a form of sustained fear caused by indecision. Worry can be conquered by the habit of making prompt and firm decisions. So worry again is a state of mind, and remember that the only thing we are 100% responsible for, the only thing we can control in life are our thoughts and our minds. So as long as we feed our mind properly, as long as we think positive, as long as we stop worrying about stuff, we can conquer this state of sustained fear. And one way to do that is by cultivating the habit of making prompt and firm decisions. Worry is the primary source of poverty and helplessness, because once worry is clouding your judgment, you are not able to make decisions. You're not able to move, you're paralyzed. And that's a terrible feeling because you don't see any perspective, you don't see any point in going forward. The 6 basic fears are translated into a state of mind of worry through indecision. So do that self-analysis and identify whatever you are affected by one of the 6 fears, how it affects you, and what can you do to stop it from happening. Once you accept all of that, and once you devote yourself to change and to conquer your fears, to conquer worry, and to conquer indecision, you'll see that killing the habit of worry will bring you poise, peace of mind, calmness, and happiness. And this is one of the best goals of life, being happy. The susceptibility to negative influences are the seventh greatest evil. So negative influences can come from 2 different sources. The first one is inside of us. Negative thinking, pessimism, and negative emotions will lead our subconscious to transmute all this negativity into a state of worry, into fear, and into lack of action. And the second source of negative influences is exterior sources. So people, friends, family members, the media, news, radio, anything we hear or read, all of that can influence our brain in negative ways. And since the only thing we can control and the only thing we have 100% control over are our thoughts, is our mind, you should recognize that you have willpower and use it until you build a wall of immunity against all negative influences, both from inside and from outside. Recognize that you, like all humans, are lazy, indifferent, and susceptible to all suggestions that harmonize with your weaknesses. So you have to identify your weaknesses through self-analysis and get rid of them. You have to build this wall of immunity around your brain so the negative influences can't affect you. Recognize you are susceptible to all 6 fears and set up habits to counter them. Take inventory of yourself. See if you are affected by any of the 6 fears, but do so with courage. Not be afraid of admitting you are actually afraid of something. And once you figure out which fears are holding you back, set those habits to counter them. Just like we discussed in a different video, there are ways to master all of the 6 fears. Recognize that negative influences work through your subconscious and you have control over it. You have 100% control of what you feed your subconscious. So you can choose whatever you are feeding it, negative influences or positive influence. You see that this will make a huge difference in your life. Excuses and alibis, reasons why people do not succeed. Mind control is the result of self-discipline and habit. You either control your mind or it controls you. The most practical of all methods of controlling the mind is the habit of keeping it busy with a definite purpose backed by a definite plan. So don't give room for negative thoughts, don't give room for negative influences. Don't listen to what your pessimist friends say to you. Don't give in to any of the 6 fears. Use self-discipline and positive habits to enforce the strength of your mind. Make sure you are feeding it with positive thoughts and positive emotions. People who do not succeed know all the reasons for failure and come up with solid alibis to explain their lack of achievement. So instead of working harder, these people just give excuses to explain why they lack achievement, why they are not successful, why they are not rich, why they don't have what they desire. And most importantly, when you start to follow your definite plan backed up by your definite purpose, do not give in to failure. Failure means your plan is not sound enough. All you have to do is change your plan and try again. Do not be discouraged. Do not give up. Keep trying and you eventually see all your desires come true. And finally, the greatest regret of them all, according to Napoleon Hill. So regrets are all about ifs. If I had money, if I had time, if I had made this decision, if I had talked to her, if I had asked her out, if I had invested in this stock, and so on. Ifs, ifs. These mark all the times in our lives that we lack that definite decision, that we lack courage to take action. And the greatest regrets of them all, if I had the courage to see myself as I really am, I would have had a chance to find out what's wrong with me and correct it. I would be where I wanted to be if I had spent more time analyzing and addressing my weaknesses and less time building alibis to cover them. Guys, this all makes us think back about the importance of knowing ourselves, doing a self analysis, being brave enough, being courageous enough to recognize our weaknesses and have the courage to accept and change them. This is how you set up the groundwork for this philosophy of success. This is how you set up the groundwork for any success you aim in life. And this should be the starting point to apply Napoleon Hill's philosophy of personal achievement. Know yourself, know your fears, accept them, change them. Have a definite purpose. Think about it every day and every night to the point of obsession. Back it up with faith. Back it up with emotions, strong and positive emotions. Feed it to your subconscious. And when you least expect it, your subconscious will give you a treasure map. It will give you directions you can follow in order to transmute your desire into its physical equivalent. And once you get that through your sixth sense, don't waste time, okay? Act on it. Act on your plan. If you fail, so be it. It's a chance to improve your plan. Do it and try again as many times as it takes. Be sure about your decisions and keep feeding your mind positive thoughts and positive emotions. This is how many people were able to accumulate riches through their lives, to accumulate wealth or whatever they wanted. And if they were able to do it, you can do it too, you know. All it takes is dedication, is force of will, is persistence, is courage. You already know what you have to do. Now all you need is to take action, stop giving excuses and creating alibis, and start doing, start learning, start planning, and start acting on your plans in order to transmute your desires into its physical equivalent. Or so would Napoleon Hill say. Thank you very much for watching these videos, guys. Hope you enjoyed it and hope you were able to learn as much as I did when I read the book. If you want to know the philosophy in more detail, do not hesitate in reading the book yourself. Thank you very much for your time. Bye bye, guys.